Hello, and welcome to that Eurovision podcast, Eurovision with a Slice of Life. My name is Rory, and I'm doing pretty well today. It is a Sunday, so I'm feeling very kind of happy that it's the weekend, and I'm feeling very positive today. And joining me,
Jazzi. It's still quite chill. Not been doing much this weekend, and yeah, just been chilling out and not doing very much because it's what I've been doing every weekend since we've been in.
Hi, it's Rosie, coming to you live from the 2020 Black Mirror Season 6 simulator. I don't know what's going to go wrong next, but we'll see what happens.
watch there be some kind of like aliens that just kind of come out of the woodwork now and be like, this is not the time!
If this gets into War of the Worlds, I'm not going to be surprised. And I'll just have the old Jeff Wayne War of the Worlds soundtrack on while the apocalypse happens.
If it does happen, I'll eat a shoe. I'll eat my shoe.
Hi guys, it's Tim here. Yes, Sunday. It's my final lazy day of the weekend. I've been spending the morning watching the new episodes of Fuller House on Netflix, and I'm now sad that it's over. So I'm gonna go distract myself with even more sad stuff by going through Eurovision stuff. So why not?
it's happy stuff. Well, maybe not, depending.
well, let's just say we're gonna get our brains thinking on this one.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
What's a brain?
Brain?
I don't know what one of those is anymore.
Like, who uses, like, I thought that was just a fad. I thought, like, you just have it, like, for 5 weeks and then just, like, chuck it off.
All these kids these days getting involved with brain fads.
Disgusting. Oh dear. So in this episode of that Eurovision podcast, we're going to diverge again from our usual country retrospectives, and we're going to go into something a little bit more controversial. And we're going to each talk about 3 of our really controversial Eurovision opinions. Of course, obviously, we have to do a little disclaimer here. These are our opinions, so of course, if you feel ridiculously offended by what we're about to say, please do not try to. We're trying to talk about it in a somewhat of a civilized way, so please just, like, don't lose your shit. Please, we're begging you.
And also, please, for the love of God, everyone's entitled to their own opinions.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinions, don't worry. So if you disagree,
please don't cancel us.
Don't cancel us, just have a nice discussion with us in the comments below, and we will be happy to, like, argue it out in the comments, just like a true social justice warrior. Yeah, so does anyone want to kick us off?
My number 3, the newer voting system is a little cruel, like showing people's faces if they've done badly with the televote, i.e. Michaela from Malta in 2019, when she only got 20 points from the televote because she finished top 10 with the jury.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I think the other thing I dislike about it is that it means that the people that do well in the televote don't get their time to shine, like Kano last year. And they did so well, and you got to see them have that happy and wonderful celebration, but you didn't know until afterwards, or unless you were keeping track, that they'd actually won the televote. And I don't feel like they got the acknowledgement for that they deserved.
Yeah, it just felt a very sort of anticlimactic. Like, looking back at, say, 2018, and we had with 21 points, Sweden, like, that caused, like, the amount of shock that was at the time. I think if you had that in 2019, it just would have felt, again, really kind of anticlimactic. And I don't know, it just wouldn't have had the same sort of idea. So I do kind of want it to go back to the way it was pre-2019, because I feel like that it was a lot more sort of thrilling, I guess you could say.
Oh boy, I'm gonna delve into this one so much. I really like the new system. I'm so sorry, Jazzi. The reason why I like the 2019 system was for the shock effect. Because of the fact that you don't know where the next person is going to land. And that's what I like the most about that, especially when we got two sisters when they announced that they got zero, and then you saw how much better they done with the jury, and of course there's also Jon Lundvik's face afterwards. No disrespect, but it's more of the fact that the shock factor was there, and
Like,
it helped the suspense a little bit per se. But I do agree with you with the fact where if they've scored really low, they shouldn't really be showing their face because of the fact that it would be unfair for them. But the problem with that, I think, was just it was organizational. The cameras were everywhere in that green room, and they wouldn't know which person to look at. But I will say this though, I would agree on your opinion on the junior version, because when the junior Eurovision Song Contest happened last year, they used that mechanism, and they actually had the decency to actually be wise with it and how they do it, and not show faces unless it's a good sign or something.
Yeah, I think like comparing like Michaela with and like Lake Malawi as well, like who only got 7 points, and they were like, yeah, and then it was just like, oh, okay. Like I think like if you
Like-
only had the cameras on the like the top 10 in the televote, I think that would be better.
yeah, because I think the problem with Lake Malawi was they had done so well with the juries that they had to show their faces, and that's just really sad.
It was a bit unfair.
I-
And it was a bit of a shame thing, wasn't it?
I feel like the Lake Malawi one is the one that people get on about, but the one that gets to me is the Michaela one, because was so young.
I think with this one, what they need is working more with the camera operators. So, personally, for me, it could work. It's more of the fact that the camera people need a bit more heads up of where they should position themselves.
Oh,
Like
okay.
maybe knowing the voting, say 5-10 seconds before.
Yeah, knowing it a bit more, like a minute or so, to like, okay, you position yourself here, you position yourself there, and maybe have like, I don't know, maybe have double the camera so it wouldn't be like no one can give the result away kind of way.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so Rosie?
I shall do my first unpopular opinion, which is Leonora got what she deserved.
Okay.
When I say Leonora, I mean Denmark's Leonora from last year with Love Is Forever. I know a lot of people really did not like that song, and thought that it was just a bit sort of overly love, peace, and a bit twee, and it absolutely did not deserve to come. I think it finished 12th in the final, and I disagree. I think she got exactly what she deserved. I think the song was lovely. I think she was lovely. I think, again, that sort of warmth came through on the screen. And yes, it is a bit saccharine, but I don't have a problem with that. I think it is really just sweet. And it was a nice little sort of, just sort of a downtime. I mean, it came between, I've got the running order up on my screen. I'm not remembering this off the top of my head. So it came between Scream and Say Na Na Na. And I think it's just that really lovely little sort of happy, calm, sort of peaceful space where you can just sort of enjoy something, and I really like that, and I appreciate that about the song. And also Leonora Step on Me.
It was going so wholesome, and then boom.
I'm sorry, but women in braces are just
You know what? I actually did meet Leonora. How many times? I interviewed her in Madrid. She was from London. I think she performed in Amsterdam. I can't remember. And then I met her again in Tel Aviv. And Rosie, I do agree with that because of the fact it was really unique song and it was really bubbly, and I really don't get the hate for it. And I even asked her, like, on the press conference afterwards, did you expect to qualify? How did it feel to qualify? And she was really happy and bubbly and excited about it. So, yay for Leonora.
yay!
Aw.
And it makes me happy to know that she's a wholesome person.
Oh, yeah. I thought
Yeah.
a lovely little tweet when, like, the final was going on that, it was like a gif of Leonora, like, when she just finished performing. And, like, you know, when she just kind of has that, she did that kind of, like, lovely little smile that she kind of, like, ooh, like, that kind of, like, proper ooh-ooh, like hashtag
Yes.
uwu, and it just, she was so lovely. The song was really sweet. I never really understood why everyone hated the song. I think it was just like, maybe it was just a bit kind of, Eurovision had kind of passed the point for that song, that type of song, but it's something that you almost kind of need in a Eurovision. Otherwise, it's not a real Eurovision.
It's not my favourite song in the world. However, I know there was technical mistakes in Semi 2. It deserved to be in the final more than the song that would have been in the final had there not been technical mistakes.
Yes.
I'm not going to mention that song.
Okay.
We're staying respectful here. and it may get mentioned later on anyway. Later on. Not in the podcast, but in a future podcast.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I think it's Tim's turn.
Yeah, it's Tim's turn.
Oh, okay. Mine is kind of like mid because of the fact that people don't agree with the statement this person made. I really do not agree with what Salvador said on his winning speech.
Ooh.
I agree.
Like,
I also agree.
music is not fireworks, and then Eleni is on stage in Lisbon. And so was Netta. And then I don't know how to feel when Salvador had to pass over that trophy to Netta, and I was just like, oh my god, you said this.
Like, for me, it was quite possible. It felt like it was possibly one of the most awkward moments in Eurovision.
It's like I don't know. It's like saying something bad about a family member, and then you have to see them, and then they knew what on earth you've been talking about behind their back, and I'm like, hi.
He had said, I can't remember. Hadn't he said something quite negative about her prior
about
to
Netta?
Eurovision 2018? Yeah.
Yeah, he had said that like this kind of proved my point that like Eurovision was didn't need these types of things, like people don't take it seriously or something.
Yeah, like she proved his point and
got the trophy,
and then she won.
Yeah. See, for me, I agree in principle, sometimes in practice. I think obviously as Eurovision progresses, Eurovision needs these kind of jokey entries just to kind of balance out like the whole idea of it just being like solely serious. But at the same time, I just think that like people need to take it seriously, and so by sending really serious songs, I think that is enough to kind of help with that. Obviously with like we do need those joke entries though, because otherwise it wouldn't be a Eurovision without it. So like I agree in part, but then not totally like everything.
Like, I feel for me, you can have your ballads that are more serious, but you need your up-tempo bops to keep it fun. So, I definitely disagree with Salvador, but understand that you also need the serious songs to keep the balance.
I feel like there's a huge difference between a joke entry and an entry that's a fun song. A joke entry doesn't take the contest seriously. A joke entry would be something like Bailar Chiqui Chiqui or Ero Nero. Toy is a fun song. Toy is a song with a quite powerful political message behind it that was written seriously, written by an artist with a lot of skill. It's a really interesting song from a musical perspective. And I feel like sort of dismissing it as this sort of just, oh, it's the song with the chicken noises in. I think it does Toy a massive disservice.
You do need to listen to the lyrics, that it is a lot more. Yes, it has this big stage production. Yes, it has the chicken noises. But listen to the lyrics. There is a lot more depth to this song than people realise and give it credit for.
Yeah.
And the song can be fun and also have a message behind it. Think about No Prejudice.
Oh, No Prejudice. We love it. As well, we were talked about in last week's episode, which you can listen on Spotify. Shameless plug, okay? So, it's time for my one, and I guess I'm going to basically just kind of fly in the face of Tim's opinion here, and basically
fly on the wings of love.
But no, my sort of first unpopular opinion is that ballads are needed in this contest. Otherwise,
Agree.
because not everything can be upbeat. The amount of times that I see like fans of the contest and like even just locals who cry at the fact there's like, oh, there's like more than one ballad in the contest. Oh no, it's a whole year of ballads. Like ballads are good. Like they're just as valid of a song as something along the lines of Fuego, as something along the lines of Toy. So I don't really understand why people have such a vendetta against ballads. Like, yes, I guess the whole contest is meant to be like a big celebration of music, but that means that you can't be like singling out specific genres and specific types of song that can't take part because it doesn't fall in the like it doesn't fall in the, oh, it's over 80 beats per minute bracket.
Like, I feel like you almost need ballads in the contest to keep it balanced, because the ballads that we often see in Eurovision are very high quality ballads, and their ballads have also been doing really well lately in the contests, and they deserve to be doing well because they are often the highest quality songs that we have in the contest. Granted, we have like our high quality bops, like 2018 felt like the year of the bop, and like that is okay too, but you need to like find a balance, I think, and those ballads give you that. And if one is higher quality than all the others in Eurovision, then yeah, it deserves to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Over a
Not
lower
wrong with a good
quality
ballad.
Echo song. Like Arcade won, like Proud won the jury, and these songs and their stagings lent like it was deserved, and yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. I think what a lot of people might not necessarily sort of get is, particularly in the UK, and I don't know how different this is with other countries with different attitudes towards the contest, is because we have this cultural idea of Eurovision as being this sort of fun, silly joke night.
Mm-hmm.
And so a ballad comes on and everyone's just like, ugh, boring, bring me back like Dust in the Turkey or something like that. Bring me back Verka Saduchka. And yeah, great, let's have them. But we don't need to have an entire contest full of them. And it's the variety that actually makes the contest interesting. And okay, yes, a bad ballad can be an absolute dirge.
See for
But
reference,
a good ballad
hashtag
can be... But some of them can be just beautiful and wonderful, and I love having those as much as I love having the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
Yes.
so shall we move on to our second controversial opinion?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brace yourself, because I feel like nobody is going to agree with me here.
Oh God, here we
I'm
go.
braced.
Sound of Silence isn't that amazing song, quote, I say song, as people make it out to be. It's not a bad, I'm not going to say it's a bad song, and Dami performs it well, but the song on its own, take away the performance, is not worthy, was not, in my opinion, a second placer. It's just a song that's a little bit coloured by numbers for me, and it's a little bit safe.
Interesting.
Ooh, I have to disagree with you on that one.
I think I disagree, but I can sort of understand where you're coming from with it. I don't have such a strong high opinion of the song where I feel passionately like I need to defend this, but I also feel like, because I wasn't necessarily involved in the fandom at this point for 2016, and I was experiencing the songs for the first time at the contest, I can't uncouple the song from Dami's. So for me, I see it very much as a song encompassing of its performance rather than the two being separate.
Like, for me, I heard the song for the first time when it was released, and I thought it was okay. I knew it would qualify. I thought it was one of those songs that was just there, and there wasn't much else to it. Yeah. Obviously, Dami's performance elevates this. Like, I'm not taking anything away from Dami. She did an amazing job.
Yeah.
It's the song standalone that I have an issue with.
Yeah, I think like it's a very radio friendly song, and I think that's why like it was seemed to be quite popular anyway. And then couple that with Dami Im being already such a big star in Australia in the first place and internationally, of course. Um, like the live performance itself was very good, but I do understand where you're coming from in the sense that the studio version was a little bit samey. And I think it left a lot to be desired in the sense of the live definitely outsold the live performance definitely outsold the studio version.
And I think
But,
there are
like,
some
I
songs
feel
that you
like
just
I
get that
question,
with.
is that enough for second place? For me, not. And like the song is still not amazing. And there's another song that I have a very similar opinion about, that also did very well. So I'm just going to leave it at this. Jamala absolutely deserved that win, because I feel like I should just leave it at that.
Okay.
Because it led into another song that I have very similar about. Literally pretty much said exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
I think for this one, I think for me, it would come to personal taste. You know, we all know that all Eurovision songs are not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So with that, I think that's more towards personal sense, because I think everyone would have different opinions in Sound of Silence, and I personally have the opposite opinion, Jazzy, but still, we're all entitled to our own opinions, and that's what makes a society a good one, isn't it?
That is why we're doing this episode.
Exactly. Be respectful. Don't be a.
I enjoy the self-bleeping there.
Yeah.
Self-censorship, we have to love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so my second unpopular opinion is that 2015 is a really good Eurovision year.
Agree.
Okay.
I've
I
seen a
agree
lot
with
of
you.
unpopularity about it recently.
Which year again? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
2015.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of
I've-
people find it really unpopular, but actually there are maybe 3 or 4 songs in the final that I don't care for, and actually quite a lot of the ones there's none I dislike. And even in the semis, there are very few weak songs. There are still some really quite good ones that didn't make it through. So I really rate it as far as a quality of song year goes. I rate it as far as how well the results sort of reflected my personal sort of opinions. Like my winner didn't win, but it did well. And the songs that did do well, I think, deserve to do well. Though I do think both Austria and Germany getting nil point was wrong, and both of them should have done better.
Definitely agree there.
There's going to be a
Yeah.
couple of things I'm going to say here. I'm glad after 2015 the voting system was changed, because a lot of countries are ranking the same 10 songs in their top 10, meaning like there's songs that were coming like 13th that were barely getting like 30 points, and that didn't feel like that should be happening. But in 2015 it did. And a second thing that I'm going to say is it kind of lends into a point where you need ballads in the context. A lot of the complaints I see about 15 are about the amount of ballads. Majority
I
of
think
the
there are
ballads
some really good ballads that year.
in 2015 are strong, but I can see the point where it's not as balanced as some years are, but the ballads that are in 2015 are strong and I enjoy them.
And I think there's quite a mix of ballads as well. You've got your sort of male ballads, your female ballads, your band ballads, your duets, all of these different ones. And I do feel like they've all got a very different feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see any of these ballads as bad ballads. I'm a little bit that it's ballad overload, that there may be too many. Like, I think it lends into the point where maybe in this case there isn't enough up-tempo songs in that final. I don't think there's very many, and there's one that I can think of that isn't very good.
Is it still in love with
no
you?
guesses.
Because I will defend that one until I die.
It is
And I
Electric
haven't
Velvet,
even put that as one of my unpopular opinions.
Yeah, I'm talking about Electric
That's
Velvet.
that's an honourable mention.
I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Even though I tend to be the one that does beat around the bush a lot.
I mean, I partially agree with Rosie on that one. I really like the songs. It's just the rest of the show. I don't remember half of it. So like I know the songs, but anything else after that, anything about like the host, I know Conchita was on it, and like
And she's a
this,
gem, and we can keep her.
yes. But the rest were just like, I don't know. It's formulaic in a sense with the way the show was set up. But other than that, everything else looks great and sleek, and I can't wait to watch it again if I have to explain what Eurovision is to someone.
See,
I think
with
on the one hand, I would agree with that, but on the other hand, I also have, because I have like fatigue issues and things like that, my memory's fucked anyway. So if I can't remember something, I don't tend to take that as a bad thing.
yeah. I mean, like with 2015, I can kind of get the sentiment that it was, to me, it was kind of forgettable. Like I wasn't a big fan of the stage. I wasn't necessarily like, there were some songs in there that I absolutely adored. For example, the Netherlands, Belgium, Belarus, and Ireland as well, for example, and Australia as well. But after, like, I feel like a lot of the songs after that, they do just kind of, one kind of blends into the next. And it kind of makes it harder for everything to stand out. I'm not gonna lie, ORF did like a really, really good job and putting on a really good show. But like the final itself was over 4 hours long. And it at times it really just did feel like it was over 4 hours long. And yeah, I mean, I see 2015 as a transitional year between 2014, which kind of was the end of the old era of the modern Eurovision, to 2016, which is the start of like the current era. So I kind of
2014 is my favorite year of the decade.
yeah. Well, it was a very good year, but I think especially with Jazzi, with all of the ballads, I think that's definitely from the winner effect, because a winner won that like the year before. That's why a lot of people chose ballads, because they believed that it was, the right
best way to
idea
go.
to win, and that's how a song like Heroes ended up winning, because it was more upbeat and it was more innovative with its staging, I guess you could say. I think it's Timmy time again.
It is Tim time.
Oh, okay. For me, my second most controversial one is that I think there needs to be more consistency with like the way a contest should be organized, especially if a new country is, or if a country hasn't hosted it for such a long time, where you think there may be some problems in organizing a show. Not mentioning 2 years in this decade where we've had so much chaos and a lot of like what if, or is it gonna happen, or is it not gonna happen kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my suggestion would be like, give them a deadline that they really have to meet, because you only have such a short time to organize this show. And also you have to think about the fans who actually want to attend. The broadcasters have to do their things as well. I mean, surely it wouldn't be as problematic for the broadcasters when selecting the artists and stuff, but then you have to think of like other things that are like intertwine with organizing this contest, and like little intricacies and all that kind of stuff. So my suggestion would be like, if you're new to this, so like let's say I wouldn't give it for the benefit of that for like, let's say the Netherlands, because they're used to hosting big TV shows and big TV productions. It's not a problem for them. But if it's for someone, let's say, who hasn't hosted it, or like who haven't hosted it for such a long time, they don't know what it's like, then give them a bit of a nudge and assistance and make sure that deadlines are met, because we don't want another like after 2021 we'll be like, oh, we don't know if we're going to this country and we don't know where we're going. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. It definitely rings true this year, because if had the contest gone ahead, it was quite likely we're going to get a country that hadn't ever won before. Iceland, Lithuania, I'm trying to think, Malta,
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria winning, or a country that hadn't won in a very long time, Switzerland. And I feel like there would have definitely, in any of these cases, needed to be some nudging going on, because either they've not won before, and Switzerland I don't think have won in the modern era. So
Yeah.
while it's been 12 points to the winner, so
I think I feel like there's especially with 2017, it was a very sort of complicated year, not only just because obviously it was being hosted in Ukraine, which was going to be a country that was technically at war with another participating country, so that was already in itself creating issues. And then the whole logistical issues with the whole team, the whole creative team just resigning because their input wasn't being valued. It did seem very kind of controversial. But then, I mean, if you look at it also, countries that haven't hosted it in a long time, like the Netherlands hadn't hosted it in, 44 years? And they had everything prepared by, Christmas time or just after Christmas time. So I think it really depends on the country that's hosting and whether or not they have the capabilities to kind of meet the deadlines. I think it should be more sort of tailored to the country that's hosting it. So say, for example, countries like Switzerland, we know that they're very efficient. We know that they're going to be able to put on these things. They're going to get all of the sort of logistics out of the way very quickly. So that hold them to a very sort of strict count. Compare that to, say, a country like Lithuania, who had never hosted before, wasn't really sure whether or not they were going to have a suitable venue, for example, or some other kind of logistical issue. I think giving them a little bit more time to work things out, then that would be easier, because yes, you kind of want to satisfy the fans with specific information and stuff, but also at the same time, you don't want to rush a broadcaster into putting on a show that will ultimately end up be very sort of low quality. But that's just how I am.
I think it's your turn, Rory.
Okay, right. Okay. So I'm going to pick up where Jazzi left off and say that Jamala totally deserved her win in 2016. And I'm not necessarily saying this just because I had Jamala as my winner in 2016. I think it was the sense that Jamala, she had more of an overall package that appealed to the majority of Europeans, both in the public view and in the juries. And of course, the whole situation with Jamala coming second in both the jury and the televote winning, yes, that is contentious, but also at the same time, look at Netta, look at Duncan. They didn't totally win overall. They didn't win both the jury and the televote. It was more of a sense of sort of coming consistent results. And yes, Jamala, I guess, someone had to be the first person, and that was Jamala. And there was more emotion behind it, there was more personal meaning behind it, and the staging is drop dead gorgeous. That is something that I will defend till my dying day. And yeah, and honestly, if it was anyone that was in the final other than Sergei, I would have had no problem with. But if it was Sergei, then I would have had a big issue with it.
I feel it kind of stemmed, I do believe Jamala was absolutely the right winner. It stems from, I would have had issues with both Dami and Sergei winning. However, I was asked on Twitter the other day, what is the best Eurovision song in the last decade? And I said my subjective opinion and I said my favourite, but I said objectively, when I look at the performance, I look at the impact that it's had on Eurovision in years to go on, because a lot of the songs after Jamala won have felt very personal. So I said, in an objective opinion, the best song and performance of the decade is 1944. And I don't think that's ever going to change. And I just think it's had such an impact on Eurovision winners going forward. And I just think it's an amazing performance, and you can see the emotion that she gives into that performance. And I don't think anyone can ever take that away from her.
I completely agree. I mean, she's my number one of that year. I think just from a viewer point of view, the song is beautiful. It's something that is entirely unique. It's something that I would never have heard anywhere else. And yeah, I actually, honestly, I would not have been sort of forever bitter if either Dami or Sergey or some others won, but I'm delighted that she did, and yep, she absolutely deserved it.
Yeah, with 1944, because I was actually in Stockholm for that, and I was so happy when she won. So personally, I wanted it to be Dami, but Jamala had the emotional depth and a great performance, so I can't fault her for winning. So I would have been happy with either or winning. So Jamala had this moment, like she brought Ukraine was brought back into the competition, and now she won it and brought it back home. So happy and not surprised, and she deserved that.
Not to mention as well, just Jamala is she's just a funny person. She's just like a really lovely woman. Like, I don't know if any of you follow her on Instagram, but she's just like, she's a mum. She has a great sense of humor. She literally even covered Volcano Man for the Eurovision movie. I think, like, someone who has...
Like, she's got dedication to the contest.
Yeah!
She's just a good winner. Like, all right.
And I don't understand why people hate on her just because of the Maroof situation. Like, that was not her fault.
Yeah, that's the only thing I was gonna say. Like, I loved her, but not her uncomfortable question.
Not that uncomfortable question, but in general, she's a lovely woman.
Yeah.
Now, we have one controversial opinion left, and this is where you gotta bring out your big guns.
Okay. I feel that this is not going to go down very well.
Oh god, here we go.
So I'm just going to say it. I don't really enjoy the 2012 contest.
2012?
Okay.
2012. And it mainly comes down to songs for me. There's a lot of songs in 2012 that I do not have a strong feeling for, and a lot of my favourites in 2012 did not qualify. So when it comes to 2012 final, there is a lot of songs I am very meh on, and there's very few that I can say that I enjoy, like, a lot, and I feel this is really controversial. So I'm just gonna throw the floor open.
I kind of agree with that though, because I think like 2012 was very much like we knew who was going to win from the get-go, so there was no point in having this.
By the
sense.
way, this is no crapping on Loreen or Maria.
Oh yeah, no hate
This
on
is
Loreen or
not-
anything. Yeah, but we knew though that Euphoria was going to win it all because everyone was like fan wanking Euphoria the whole from the moment it was selected to the point that she won. So there was no kind of, you know, like how in say like last year and this year and even in 2018, like there was this kind of debate as like, oh, who was going to win there. Like there was no like obvious winner. There wasn't that in 2012, so it just felt like it was just kind of a formality almost.
I mean, 2012, it's a mixture of things. I mean, for crying out loud, they did build an arena just to host the frigging thing. So...
And commit a few human rights abuses along the way.
Oh.
Yeah, let's not go there. I mean, they were finishing off the arena just as the rehearsals were about to start. So, yes.
They got the timing right.
I guess it was organisation.
Yeah.
I wasn't around in 2012, so I'm not going to pretend I know everything, but...
But, yes, I can see your point on it. And to be fair, though, let's just say that this is the first time we're heading further than Israel on our contest. So, A, for effort, but everything else is questionable.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Try not to annoy people.
I think some of my feelings on 2012 come from the fact that I was a local at this point. I watched the finals and that was it. That was my sort of... I enjoyed it and I did sort of take seriously, but I didn't engage with it the same way that I do now. And so I don't feel a strong attachment to a lot of songs. There are some
Like-
songs that I really like. There are songs I still listen to. I still listen to the Sus. I still listen to L'amour est féminin. I still listen to Waterline. I still listen to. I still
I
listen
think
to
I still listen
Euphoria.
to-
But
I think I still listen to Euphoria and Waterline and nothing else.
Oh, I
don't
listened to
feel
Should Have
like
Known
I
Better.
have a strong attachment to any of the other songs. It's like there are some good songs. There are songs I still don't feel passionate about them the same way that I do, and I think it is quite a good year. I just don't feel attached to it particularly.
Like
Yeah.
I love Lorene's song. I think at that point, like I was still had very fond memories of Jedward on X Factor. Yeah,
That's
Those
a
I
given.
golden
have
days.
somewhat attachment to Waterline and Euphoria, but it's not enough for me to say I enjoy this contest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, my number one unpopular opinion is that I entirely disagree with bringing back the language rule, and I don't have an issue with countries choosing to sing in English.
Okay.
I feel like this seems to be a very controversial thing because I see a lot of people saying we should bring back the language rule and that sort of thing. And I feel like, first of all, with the language rule, there are a lot of songs we wouldn't get nowadays. So if it specifies singing in national language, then we wouldn't have got 1944. We wouldn't have got La Forza. We wouldn't have got Bits of Love is Forever. We've got Habba Habba, all sorts of these different songs we wouldn't have access to because they are not songs that are sung in the national language of the countries that are being performed. And I also disagree that language is the only way to express your culture. I feel like you can easily express your culture and your heritage and your background and your diversity in your music without necessarily having to rely on language to do that. I feel like you can do it with your instruments, you can do it with your theme, you can do it with all sorts of different aspects of your song, and I don't feel like language has to be compulsory to do that. I love hearing songs that aren't in English, but I don't feel like it's a bad thing when they are.
I fully agree with you.
I'm kind of like on the fence a bit, I think, because like I would have really appreciate it if like if countries did have more of like sort of a proper like representation of their country in their performance, but it at the same time it could maybe even just be like on a national level, like for example like Portugal that imposes its own language rule in a sense.
I agree with Rosie on this one. If it's remember, Eurovision is a competition at the end of the day, and if singing in English would be beneficial for the artist, would be beneficial for the country's chances to qualifying for the grand final, or heck, even winning the whole frigging thing, then sing in English because it's the universal language and everyone can speak it and everyone can sing along to it. So there are some countries who, if you think about it, had they not sung in English, do you think they would have won? Or, I mean, I'm pretty sure,
I'm pretty sure Arcade would not have won in English.
No, definitely
no,
not.
in Dutch, in Dutch,
No,
in Dutch.
would not have won in Dutch. I mean,
Would not have won in Dutch.
would
Like-
not, yeah.
Arcade wouldn't have won in Dutch. Euphoria wouldn't have won in Swedish. Only Teardrops wouldn't have won in Danish. And Rise Like a Phoenix would have won in German.
German.
So you prove my point. It's what feels right with the song. So kind of like with the controversy with like Shaw and Fall from the Sky.
Yeah.
So we all know that Shaw was originally written in English, then to Albanian, then back to English. So if that's what Arielena is comfortable singing with, and she sings it quite well, so that's their decision to make, and that's
And
what.
the same with something like Think About Things.
Yeah.
And kind of on that note, I don't like the idea of forcing something into an English translation when it's not supposed to be. But if the song was originally written in that language and that's what feels authentic to the artist, then by all means sing in that.
Speaking of songs that were forced into English, see for reference Parale, turning into Fairy Tale, Albania 2016. Lopped
Yeah.
the balls right off that song. Right off of it.
Oh god, it's me again. Ooh,
Whoa.
I'm so nervous. I'm just gonna reiterate something I've said on a previous episode. I'm sorry, Sergey. I really don't get it.
Ooh.
Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I like the production of Scream and yeah, too. But the problem is for me, it didn't feel like you.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying. I know you're trying for a win, but didn't connect with it because it felt forced and it felt like the try hardiness is there.
I feel I've said everything I need to say about Sergey. And I'm not going to say anymore. Just listen to the past podcasts. Listen to this podcast. You will know I completely agree with Tim.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I've had so much slander on that. Like I even on I'm part of this jury on Twitter. It's called the Lulu Jury. And every
Plug.
time Sergey, I think we done the 2016. I was the only one that put Sergey last.
Really?
And it caused a bit of uproar with the other members of that jury.
Oh my god.
Like, we're probably already unpopular. I'm not making myself more unpopular.
No, I mean, I.
It's been 3 years. I'm over it.
Yeah, it's been 2 years and 4 years. Get over it. No, I said my piece about Sergey in the Russia episode. I just think all of the songs that he sent, it's not true to who he is as a person or as a professional singer. I think it's all very much focused on trying to win, and it just doesn't come across as authentic to him as a person and as a singer and as an artist. And I just think Kirkorov needs to kind of, I don't know, back off a little bit. But if you want to hear more about that, then have a listen to the Russia episode.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my most controversial. It was already obvious, like, but that's my number one.
Okay.
Out of that.
Okay. Okay, so here's my number one, and I'm going to preface this by saying that I am a cis gay male, okay? So as someone who is part of the LGBTQ community, I understand that obviously I am kind of shading myself here, but at the same time, this is something that people need to change in their mindsets, is that the contest is not meant to be aimed at the gay audience. It's not supposed to be specifically for the gay community. It's not supposed to be for someone who, like, just for the queer community. It's supposed to be something for everyone, and it embraces the queer audience, and it embraces people who are LGBTQ, but it shouldn't be so much so that it ostracizes other people who don't identify as part of that community. And I think that's something that it's definitely seen in, at least in Ireland and the UK, is that it's seen as something that is just the gay Olympics. And it's not actually meant to be that way. It's supposed to be something for, you know, the family, for old people, for young people. It's supposed to appeal to practically everyone. And I think there's this idea that that queer audiences are the only people who actually are catered for, when in actuality it's really not the case. And I know that sounds really like social justice warrior, but I swear, I wrote about it in my dissertation. I swear, I know what I'm on about.
I think it's quite interesting how you bring that up, because as a queer woman, I don't feel like we get the same sort of association with the contest as gay men do, queer men do. And I do completely agree with your opinion, but with the very strong caveat that if you are not okay with gay people, this is probably not the show for you. This is a show that is about acceptance and tolerance and diversity and celebrating different people. And I don't feel like there is a place for people in the contest or in the fandom who are homophobic.
Definitely.
I agree with both points here. Like, if you have, say, homophobic views, this is not the contest for you. And yeah,
Or maybe it is, and it should try and change your mind.
Fingers crossed.
like I struggle to understand like a contest that's so full of acceptance when artists who have expressed openly homophobic views decide to take part. Because like, what are you gonna do? Are you just gonna concentrate on your performance and then like turn your back to the rest of us? Because that you're gonna see a lot of like, oh, like it's meant to be a celebration for all, is what I'm trying to say. And then there's people that are taking part that are openly not very celebratory of all, and it's quite sad.
I think for me, like, you just have to see it as it's more of what was the purpose of the contest, anyways.
To bring to bring everybody together.
Exactly.
And I feel like this to this day there's still division.
Mm-hmm.
Like either within the fandom or even within countries that take part or did take part. No.
See, for reference, Turkey, Belarus,
Hungary.
Choices have been made. But yeah, and just kind of like one final point, I think, like, yes, a big majority of the fandom are part of the queer community, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are the representative for the Eurovision fandom, because otherwise that is sort of omitting the views of like non-queer people who are a part of the fandom. And I just don't understand how people just seem to think that it's just for the gays, but it's not for the gays, it's for everyone. And I hope people can start to see that, but who knows? But yeah, so that is all of our controversial opinions for you today. If you want to hear us talk about more controversial opinions, feel free to go back and listen to a few of the older episodes that we have up. And yeah, so that's it for this edition of That Eurovision podcast. I'd love to thank Rosie, Jazzi and Tim for coming along on this potentially rocky journey, and I hope that we've made it out unscathed, but who knows? And so please do continue to follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at That Euro Podcast. We're also on Spotify, so please follow us there so that you get notified for whenever a new podcast comes out. In the next couple of episodes, we'll be talking more about countries, and then we may do a couple of other year retrospectives as well. But we also might have a couple of extra surprises up our sleeves for you. So please do stay tuned and just sort of get a conversation going. Let us know what your controversial Eurovision opinions are in the comments below. And yeah, so shall we all say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye.